What if I told you that the very strategy that built a global coffee empire, opening a new store every 15 hours, was also the strategy that nearly destroyed it? This is the story of a company that became a language, a culture, and a daily ritual for millions. But in its relentless quest for world domination, it forgot the simple magic in a cup of coffee. This is the story of Starbucks, a tale of incredible growth, near collapse, and a desperate fight to rediscover its soul. How do you grow this big, yet somehow stay small? Our story begins not with a latte, but with a bean. In 1971, three coffee-obsessed friends, Zev Siegel, Jerry Baldwin, and Gordon Bowker, opened a small roastery in Seattle's Pike Place market. Inspired by coffee pioneer Alfred Peet, their mission was simple: sell high-quality, whole coffee beans to a nation drinking instant and canned coffee. Back then, there was no such thing as a coffee culture. You didn't go to Starbucks for a drink, you went to buy beans. The idea of a coffee bar, of a barista crafting a personalized beverage, was virtually non-existent in America. For over a decade, Starbucks remained a beloved local secret, a haven for coffee purists. But a storm was brewing, and its name was Howard Schultz. In 1982, a young, ambitious Schultz joined as marketing director. A year later, a trip to Milan would change everything. He was captivated by the theater of Italian espresso bars, the sense of community, the artistry of the barista, the hiss of the steam wand. It wasn't just a coffee shop, it was a third place, a vital community hub between home and work. He raced back to America, bursting with this vision. But the founders disagreed. They were roasters, not restaurateurs. Frustrated, Schultz left, only to return in 1987 to buy the company for $3.8 million. The Italian coffee experience was coming to America. He introduced the latte to the American vocabulary, and it was a revelation. Starbucks was no longer just selling a product, it was selling an experience, a feeling of indulgence, a moment of self-love on the way to work. The sound, the smell, the personal connection with your barista, it was magic. And America was ready to pay for it. What followed was a period of blistering, unprecedented growth. Schultz pursued a strategy of saturation. Going public in 1992 with 165 stores, Starbucks exploded to over 15,000 locations by 2007. At its peak, it was opening 1,500 stores a year. But this explosive growth came at a cost. The focus shifted from customer experience to quarterly earnings. To fuel speed, the company installed automatic espresso machines, killing the romance of the craft. The comforting aroma of ground coffee was replaced by the smell of warmed breakfast sandwiches. The third place was becoming a fast food transaction. The original founders watched in horror. The company had, as critics said, lost its soul. The perception shifted from a cozy coffee house to a big bad corporate entity, a symbol of bland globalization. The business was succeeding, but the brand was dying. Then, in 2007, Starbucks hit a wall. The financial crisis crippled the economy, and its stock price plummeted by 50%. Customers, now cash-strapped, saw the $4 latte as an easy luxury to cut. The empire was crumbling. In desperation, the board made a legendary call. They brought back Howard Schultz. His return alone sent the stock soaring by 9%. Schultz saw the problem immediately. "We convinced ourselves that a new flavor of Frappuccino was innovation," he later admitted. The company had confused growth with success. He embarked on a radical billion-dollar rescue mission. He slammed the brakes on expansion. He closed over 900 underperforming stores and laid off thousands. And then, he made his most daring move. On a February afternoon in 2008, Schultz did the unthinkable. He shut down every single company-owned store in the U.S., all 7,100 of them, for 3.5 hours. The cost? A staggering $6 million in lost sales. The goal? To retrain 135,000 baristas on how to make the perfect espresso. It was a massive gamble that signaled one thing: we are serious. The automatic machines were out, theatrical espresso machines were back. Hot food was scaled back to let the coffee aroma dominate. The focus returned, maniacally, to the quality of that single cup of coffee. It worked. The stunt restored credibility. Customers returned and they noticed the difference. By 2009, the stock had soared 143%. Schultz had saved his company by destroying the mediocre culture he had accidentally created and returning to its entrepreneurial heart. Today, Starbucks is an $80 billion global titan. But the old challenges have evolved into new ones. The market is oversaturated, leading to profit cannibalization, where new stores steal sales from old ones. Consumer tastes are shifting away from sugar-laden drinks towards healthier cold brews and artisanal coffee. Starbucks' answer? A dual strategy. On one hand, it's going hyper-local, especially in critical markets like China. It's creating unique store designs for group seating, developing local drinks like matcha lattes, and forming deep partnerships with companies like Alibaba. On the other hand, it's going ultra-premium with its Starbucks Reserve roasteries, massive 20,000-square-foot coffee wonderlands designed as tourist destinations. The Shanghai Roastery, for instance, made double the weekly revenue of a regular store in its first weeks. The question is no longer about survival, but about balance. How does it compete with both the high-end craft coffee shop and the cheap, convenient competitor? The cycle of growth, crisis, and renewal is the new constant. The story of Starbucks is a masterclass in business. It teaches us that vision without execution is hallucination. But it also warns that growth without soul is a ticking time bomb. The most powerful lesson is that no matter how big you get, you must never forget the core principle that made you great. In Starbucks' case, it was the relentless focus on one customer, one partner, and one perfect cup of coffee at a time. So, what business lesson did you take from the rise and fall and rise of Starbucks? Was it Schultz's visionary leadership, the danger of overexpansion, or the power of a strong brand identity? Let us know in the comments below. And if this story of a coffee empire resonated with you, hit that like button, subscribe for more business deep dives, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Thanks for watching.